Hello. So, been looking forward to talking about this one for a while. But before we get to that, we got to talk about some business here for a minute. I debated whether or not I wanted to talk about this at the beginning of the review or at the end of the review, but we kind of need to talk about it. It's kind of ironic the way things kind of work. I mean, I just come from a comic book store. I'm on my way in to see a comic book movie, and I'm checking my phone, just killing time, and I see that Stan Lee passed away. Now, granted, I'm not seeing a Marvel film, but if comic books are taken seriously these days, if comic book characters are taken seriously, it's because of him. It's because he dared to kind of say, what if we told stories about people as opposed to just guys in costumes? And when I think about him and his impact on the world, I'm not sad. He led a long and a good life, and I think more than that, he leaves behind a really powerful legacy. We can talk about what characters like Spider-Man or the X-Men or the Avengers or any of the thousands of characters he created mean to people. But really just think about how much he created or had a hand in creating. I mean, I am hard-pressed. The only people I can kind of think of who had that kind of impact on pop culture are Disney, Jim Henson, and George Lucas. Those are the three, really. And, I mean, his creations rule pop culture. How many people know Spider-Man even if they've never picked up a comic book? I mean, think about that. That is an immense legacy to leave behind. And I don't think that's something to be sad about. That's something to say thank you for what you gave us, what you gave the world. Not just us, but the world. Everybody knows these characters, and everybody enjoys them, especially now. So, I don't usually do individual kind of tribute episodes. Every now and then I do. I usually save it for the in memoriam at the end of the year, but I kind of felt that, again, having just come from a comic book store, going to see a comic book movie, I kind of had to say something. I kind of had to voice this, because it's just too much of a coincidence to really just write off as nothing. So I said it in my posts on my walls. I'm going to say it here. Stan Lee, sir, never met you, don't know you as a person, but I thank you on behalf of the world, nerd culture, and everybody for what you created and what you gave us. And thank you for making that contribution. Thank you for being that guy. And it's going to be real sad not seeing those cameos in those Marvel movies anymore. So yeah, maybe I should have saved that towards the end, but I kind of felt like I needed to get it off my chest and to, move on with that. So, with that said, let's talk about what I just saw for the 100th time, and that is the best Batman theatrically released movie of all time. It's funny with Batman films, you can there's all these subcategories. Now, you could say that The Dark Knight is the best live-action Batman movie. I would say that the best Batman movie, period, is Batman Beyond Return of the Joker, which was a direct-to-video, direct-to-DVD release. For you young people in the audience, those were the Netflix exclusives of their day. But if you want to talk about the best theatrically released movie, and a lot of people tend to get into the debate between the 1984 Tim Burton film and The Dark Knight, but I'm sorry, I gotta say, Batman Beyond, not Batman Beyond, I got carried away. Batman Mask of the Phantasm, best Batman movie to be released to theaters ever. Discussion over, period at the end, move on. So why? Well, first of all, if you've never heard of this movie, which I'm not surprised a lot of people haven't, it was not a success when it was released in theaters 25 years ago. I honestly think that's because they released it Christmas Day. Honestly believe that. I think if they had done a summer movie release, I think it would have been a lot bigger. But that's just me. So this is essentially Batman the Animated Series, the movie. And again, if you haven't heard of Batman the Animated Series, then I'm sorry, your life sucks. Okay? So Batman the Animated Series was the best incarnation of Batman ever. Fucking ever. No debate. And this was kind of the movie that they brought out to capitalize on it. And in the movie, there is a new masked killer called Phantasm who's killing off these gangsters, and Batman's getting blamed for it because they kind of look the same. So Batman's trying to solve that mystery, while at the same time, his ex-girlfriend comes back into town and is throwing his life kind of into a little bit of upheaval. So there's two things going on. It's got a lot of flashbacks. It's very Citizen Kane-esque. The filmmakers actually said they were inspired by Citizen Kane in terms of the flashbacks telling the story of a rich man and kind of the loneliness and loss that he went through. And it shows in the best ways. So what makes this movie so freaking good? Well, let's start with the basics. First of all, voice cast. I've said it before, and I'm putting my foot down very firmly here. It's always the debate in nerd culture: who's the best Batman? Who's the best Joker? And in my opinion, it is not a debate. Kevin Conroy, best Batman ever. Mark Hamill, best Joker ever. Done. No debate. None for me. But they're kind of the tip of the iceberg. There is a lot of really great voice acting in this. They get a superb cast. Abe Vigoda of Barney Miller fame is one of the gangsters. I can never remember the guy who played Alfred, but I love the guy who plays Alfred in all the Batman animated series. He's got such a great Alfred voice. He just sounds perfect. The person who never gets enough love for her work is Dana Delaney. Dana Delaney as Andrea Beaumont, Bruce Wayne's girlfriend, is fantastic. She has got such a rich, beautiful voice. I love her voice. And I don't know what it is, because again, with voice acting, it's difficult, because a lot of times you're recording things in a booth by yourself. But she and Kevin Conroy have such great chemistry. Their voices work so well together and work off each other so well. And it's because of this film she got the role of Lois Lane in Superman the Animated Series. And by the way, best Lois Lane ever. So you kind of see the pattern here. So she doesn't get anywhere near the amount of love and the amount of respect that I think some of these other voice actors do, and I think she really deserves it. She nails it, and she's got such a mysterious, youthful, very mischievous voice. It's just got all these qualities that you can't really teach. They just are the way she talks, and she brings all that to this role, and it's fantastic. Secondly, and I think this is something that a lot of people don't get into a lot with these things, the story is really fascinating and fun. So first of all, it's a mystery story. Now, honestly, the mystery, for me at least, was pretty self-evident even before I saw the movie. I knew who the Phantasm was before I even saw the movie, and I think most people do just by Batman logic. But still, the mystery of going through it is really fascinating and really well done. And like, it's funny that all these Batman movies, and you don't see much of him being a detective. You get a little bit of it in The Dark Knight, but not a lot. And here we get to see him actually trying to solve a mystery. Secondly, the subplot, or the parallel plot, I don't think it's the sub because the two plots like intersect. The story of Batman in love. Now, we've seen this before in other Batman movies. Every Batman movie has a love interest. And, of course, people love the famous one of him and Catwoman and all this. But this one does it in a really interesting way. This one asks the question, what if Bruce Wayne were happy? The flashbacks are Bruce Wayne meeting this woman, Andrea Beaumont, when he's in his, let's say, I think early 20s, early to mid 20s, before he has officially become Batman. He's gone through all the training, he's done all that, he's back in Gotham, he's ready to go and start his mission, but he hasn't put all the pieces together. He hasn't become Batman yet. And into his life comes this woman. So he's at this crucial juncture of trying to uphold this vow that he made to his parents, and this sudden thing of, but I'm happy now. There is an excellent scene, a phenomenal scene. Best scene in any Batman movie, I think. Yeah, well, second best, next to the death of the Joker and Batman Beyond, Return of the Joker. But anyway, so second best scene, where Bruce Wayne is at his parents' grave, it's raining, and he is begging them for forgiveness for not dressing up in his pajamas and going to beat the shit out of criminals. Begging them for forgiveness, going, please, I need it to be different now. I didn't intend to be happy. What this cartoon does, and what Batman the Animated Series did better than anything since, or before even, is this movie gives us a real insight into the psyche of Bruce Wayne and the psychology of Bruce Wayne, not of Batman. And does it without all of this kind of psychobabble and pseudo-philosophical bullshit that The Dark Knight kind of made famous. This just had events and had people reacting to them. An everyday event, like a man falling in love. And what does that do to someone like Bruce Wayne? A simple thing, like a man falling in love. And how does that tear him apart? And how does the loss of it just pour gasoline on an already burning fire? It doesn't get weighed down and let's sit and discuss this. It shows it, and shows it through visuals. The visuals of this medium. This is, again, why I think the animated one is the best. The visuals they pull off are just astonishing. The first time Bruce puts on the Batman costume, it's phenomenal. There's this excellent shot of him in the cemetery, investigating the death of one of the gangsters, and he walks up to his parents' gravestone, and the bat shadow just kind of goes up along it, the shadow engulfing the Wayne name. There are just so many gorgeous visuals in this that I don't think you can really get with a character like this in live action. At least they haven't yet. So, yeah, this is also one of those movies, kind of like Transformers the movie in a way, that isn't afraid to make it, I don't want to say make it adult, because they don't really do anything. Everything in it kind of, that's adult will fly over the kids' heads, but they make it feel, they don't talk down to the kids. I mentioned this in my Transformers the movie review. And that's something Batman the Animated Series never did. It never talked down to you. All right? Characters smoke in this movie. I don't smoke, and I'm not an advocate of smoking. But I hate that, things like that are neutered out of popular culture, like TV and movies. People smoke in real life. Okay? I'm not saying you need to show Mickey Mouse lighting one up, but I'm just saying this movie is grounded in a reality that none of the movies have ever really been able to do. The live action films, I should say. People smoke in this. Batman bleeds. He knocks the Joker's fucking tooth out. Batman and, or I should say Bruce Wayne and Andre Boma have sex. They don't show it, of course, but what they do is, of course, the two of them kiss, the camera zooms up, the next shot you see is like the ocean, like right at the foot of Wayne Manor, splashing against the rocks. It's like, ah, ha, 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 ha. I see what you did there. And she's then, the next shot you see of her, she's sitting there in his shirt with her legs exposed. It's like, okay, Batman just got himself some. You know? The movie doesn't hide from things like that. Now, some things that I think maybe work against it just a little bit, maybe other reasons why maybe it wasn't as successful in its initial run, it might be a little too sophisticated. The plot may be a little bit too, I don't want to say convoluted, because it's way more streamlined than any of the live action ones. I mean, seriously, try to sum up the plot of the 1984 Batman movie. Try to sum up the plot of The Dark Knight. You know, it's not easy. There's not much of a plot. But this one had, you know, gangsters and money laundering and embezzlement and corrupt government officials and stuff like that. And I remember as a kid, because I had no idea. I forget how old I was when this came out. It was 25 years ago, so whatever, you know, 39 minus 25 is. I'm not a mathematician. So I was just at the age. I was right at the age that this was aimed for. But I had no idea what embezzlement was or what, you know, money laundering. I had to ask my dad. I always ask my dad about things like this. But, Dad, what are they talking about? So the plot might be a little too adult. Not so much in its themes, but just in, you know, some of the plot devices, you know, like embezzlement and money laundering and all that. That it did make it a little harder to follow. There's also, for a Batman movie, there is not a lot of action in this. There are a lot of scenes of people just talking. And it's not boring conversation. I'm not opposed to that. I like it. It's one of the reasons I really love this movie, is I like that it spends time establishing the atmosphere and establishing the story and establishing the characters and the red herrings and who's there and who's over there and all this stuff. So none of that bothered me. I'm just, even as a kid, but I was a weird kid. I'm a weird adult, you know? So I sometimes wonder if those things maybe why it didn't catch on with kids right away at the time, and why it may be having kind of a resurgence and more of a cult classic thing now because of that. Because now the people are watching it and they're getting more into it. Now they want, you know, everything, Batman's got to be treated super ethereal. You know, I'm ethereal, you know, and this one does treat Batman very serial. And I think that's the other thing that this and the animated series it's based off of did better than anything else. This film is serious and dark and moody, but it never forgets that it's a fucking comic book movie. And that there are comic booky elements. You know, honestly, really, watch the Batman movies. Watch the live action ones. They seem ashamed of the fact that they're about comic books. The only ones that you could say aren't, in my opinion, were the original the Batman 66, and the two Joel Schumacher's ones. Were not afraid to kind of reference that they came from comic books, and those are the ones people bitch about all the fucking time. You know? This one, it had a serious tone, serious images, all this, but it still has the Joker flying around on a jetpack. You know, it's not ashamed of itself, and it's not. And the series was like that too. Dark, gothic images, a lot of heavy shadows, all those things, but it still had the fun of it, and still said, "This is a comic book. This is a cartoon about a man in a bat suit fighting clowns and guys in green underwear with question marks on them." You know, to quote the Joker, "Why so serious?" You know? And I think that's why this version of Batman has stuck around so much longer than I think any of the other versions, in my opinion. So yeah, this is a fantastic film. Animation is gorgeous. The music is outstanding. So yeah, I really dig it. It was great to go see it on the big screen again. Seeing that Mark Hamill Joker face take up the entirety of the screen is so freaking scary. You know, scarier than all of Heath Ledger, God rest him, and his, so-called psycho stuff. Mark Hamill's Joker, straight up, that laugh, that smile, it's like, oh, and in the best possible way. Of this, oh my God, that's so cool and creepy. So yeah, I don't do the rankings or the ratings for the retro reviews. They're more for fun. But if you've never seen Batman, the animated series, if you've never seen Batman Mask of the Phantasm, you've never seen Batman Beyond, you've never seen Superman, the animated series, Justice League Unlimited, or, again, the creme de la creme, Batman Beyond Return of the Joker, you need to do that, and you need to do it now, okay? I call it the Bruce Timmiverse because Bruce Timm was the producer on all of them. There were other producers, but I always remember Bruce Timm. His DC universe is by far the best. Better than their shitty-ass cinematic universe, better than the Arrowverse, which I enjoy. I love the Arrowverse. But Bruce Timmiverse, it is by far the fucking best. Best representation of some of these characters, and the reason why a lot of them are still relevant. So go check them out. Check out this movie. Check out the others. If you are Batman or a comic book fan or a DC fan and you haven't done that, you have failed yourself. So go do that. All right. So that is Veterans Day Veterans Day weekend at the movies. Got a lot coming up. Got a show opening very soon and whole shit ton of movies about to drop that I want to see and talk about. So the next couple weeks are gonna be uber busy. So have a wonderful weekend. Stanley, again, thank you, sir. Thank you for everything. And to all out there, drive safe, and I will see you at the movies. Excelsior.